Hello, and welcome back to the podcast Never As Funny, where I, Patrick O'Connell, talk to funny people, and hope to God they talk back to me. This week, or this episode actually, there's going to be two this week, I'm speaking to comedian Adrian Gray, who's arguably most known, it's certainly how I originally came to know him, for his Forgotten History content, which is this series of short, very clever, very funny mockumentaries, kind of in the style of sort of old BBC documentaries. But he's also all over the place elsewhere, writing credits for various things, various TV programs. Don't know why I said it like that, but I didn't mind it. And he's also recently written a radio show with his colleague, the musical comedian Jazz Emu, called The Sound of Us for Radio 4. And we dig into all of that, plus much more, on this show, on this podcast. I don't know what's happening to me right now. Something's going on, man. My delivery's going all over the place. But speaking of delivery, let's deliver you a great conversation. Here is Adrian Gray. Welcome back to the show, where I talk to comedians in the know. That's right. It's never as funny. It's never as funny. The show's it's called Never As Funny. It's the name of the show, by the way. Never As Funny. That's the gist of it. The name. The show's called Never. This is like the title music. It's called Never As Funny. All right. So, welcome back to Never As Funny. This time, I have on special guest. I mean, I dig myself a little bit of a hole there because I don't normally say special guest. I don't want to imply that you're not special.
My mum says I'm special. So
exactly, certified.
Yeah, exactly.
I will give you a little bit of a more detailed introduction beforehand anyway, which you guys listening will have heard. But your special fact you provided me with, see if I can get the years right. I think you said you didn't go to the cinema for 7 years between 2009 and 2016, is that right?
Something like that, yeah. Do you want me to elaborate on that, or are we just going to accept that?
Is there elaboration to be had?
I think, I just kept going to see bad films. And to be fair to me, in the trailers, they make them look good.
That's
and
true.
Then they have reviews that say this is 4 stars. I'm like, well, that's almost all the stars. And then you're seeing Bad Santa 2, thinking, what the fuck am I doing?
Did they give Bad Santa 2 4 stars?
I don't know. Probably someone did.
That's brilliant.
I don't know what it was out of.
You just gave up on it, on the whole concept.
Yeah, I was just like, well, the rational thing to do would be if I'm just consistently not enjoying this, I'm just going to stop. So I just didn't go to the cinema. Anyone was like, do you want to go to the cinema? I'd just be like, no, I don't. So I didn't have many friends during that period.
I really respect the commitment to that.
Thank you.
Movie celibacy.
Yeah. But then eventually I went to see The Force Awakens because I was a big Star Wars fan as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And it was an okay experience. It wasn't so bad. Actually, you know what? I don't think that was... I think the first thing I went to see was the James Bond film Spectre, which I did think was terrible. Was it Spectre?
It might be. To be honest, I kind of fell off with... I don't really remember the details of anything after Skyfall.
Yes, that was like the last good one, I think. Yeah, I went to see Spectre. I was like, well, this is terrible. Maybe I was right. I was like angry at it. But then I sort of went to see Star Wars by sort of default, and it was okay. So there you go. Fact elaborated.
That's good. You didn't give it another 7-year wait.
No. Maybe I should have, don't know.
But yeah, that's great. So this is not a really good segue from that, really. I just that it's something that happened to you. And speaking of you,
yes, good. You've done this before.
Yeah, in theory. What's your kind of shebang? What are you up to right now? How would you describe your sphere of things?
Well, I guess I describe myself as a comedy writer, but a lot of what I do is make videos, comedy videos for the internet. And they're most popular on YouTube, but certain things do well on other platforms like Instagram.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then I write for radio shows and TV shows when they're willing to let me do that. And I sort of co-wrote a radio show earlier this year with Archie Henderson, also known as Jazz Emu.
Yes, I'd seen that. Yeah, when I did a little bit of research, I made a little list of stuff, and you've been all over the place.
Oh, well, I mean, it doesn't feel like that, but I'm glad it looks like that. Yeah, so do that, and then what else do I do, really? I don't know. I sometimes write jokes for companies that want, like, funny social media content.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Like copywriting type thing.
Basically, yeah, it's like the kind of middle ground between online marketing, copywriting, and comedy writing, which is quite a lonely middle ground, if I'm honest. It's not a hugely pleasant space to occupy, but there you go.
Are there any particular ones you're proud of?
Oh, God, no.
But can you talk about that? Do you have to sign in?
God, no. I'm not proud of any of them.
An NDA?
It really depends on the client. Most of the clients are incredibly boring, and you're like, right. Why on earth do you want to be funny? They'll be like, I work with this agency, which is really great. I don't know if they want me to promote them, but let's just do it. Like a white label. They're like really good, and they've been great getting me work and stuff. But the clients that they get who approach them saying, we want some jokes, have you got any writers, are just like the most boring imaginable companies. It'll be like, oh, we're a company and we like provide video lessons to help people use medical equipment in Los Angeles dental centers or something like that. And they're like, we want a batch of 50 memes based around our target audience. You're like, oh, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't want to go to a funny dentist. It's completely insane. It would be like, oh, like all my teeth are falling out, but it was a good laugh. I enjoyed that. So often the clients are just incredibly unfunny. I mean, we did some stuff for Frey Bentos, which is like a British pie company. Yeah. And they've got a sort of blokey kind of vibe, and that allowed for some slightly more funny stuff. But yeah.
Like my pie, simple as, that type of vibe.
Yeah, pretty much. You could do it. I'll put you in touch.
Yeah, that's where we should go next. I get someone from Free Bentos on the show.
Yes, that would be interesting.
But yeah, that's would be something cool to talk about. I think your show you co-wrote with Jazz Emu, is it Radio 4?
Yes. Enlighten
us about that a little bit.
So, well, the show is called The Sound of Us, and it's a kind of radio sitcom, 15-minute episodes, and it's a musical sitcom, so it's got comedy songs in it. And it's about Archie's character, Jazz Emu, who's a sort of out of touch and hubristic musician. And yeah, we co-wrote it, and I play his nephew Bonson in it, who's just like a weird little urchin guy.
Bonson's a great name for that as well.
I know. It's fun being called Bonson for half an hour. And yeah, it's hopefully got lots of jokes in it, and Archie writes amazing comedy songs. And yeah, probably about 40 old people listen to it by accident, but that's the nature of Radio 4.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll get a second series at some point, and then maybe 50 old people.
That's brilliant. Had you guys known each other and worked together before?
Yeah. So we met at university.
Oh, right.
And we did lots of comedy stuff together at university. And then a few years after university, we made a couple of videos together and some sort of avant-garde Twitter comedy to varying degrees of success. But some of the stuff we did went down quite well. And he has been doing his character for the last couple of years, which is doing really well. And I've sort of been doing my YouTube stuff, which is doing all right. And so I think sort of from all that, we had enough stuff that we could sort of try and pitch for some sort of radio show, basically.
That's something I'm very interested in. I mean, what was the process like for that? Like, when you pitch to is it literally just you get the right email and you just beg, or is it more involved?
Well, that's maybe stage 1 of 90.
Mm.
I mean, we'd done loads of pitches to like production companies and channels, and it never really goes anywhere. And I think that's just the nature of it.
Right.
Like, yeah. Unless you are literally, like a global famous comedian, I think most of the time it doesn't go anywhere. And essentially we'd pitched almost the exact same show before to the BBC via a production company. It wasn't as Jazz Emu, but it was a very similar idea, and they just rejected it. And I think basically because Jazz Emu's like become a bit more successful this time, that sounds like a great concept. So yeah, I mean, it's emailing people, but I think basically if they don't already kind of know who you are, it's really difficult.
Right, yeah, of course.
Your idea could be incredible, but they'll just be like, don't know.
You gotta have that platform.
Yeah. So it's not the most fun process, and I think both Archie and I, we're both very like, we want to make something and instantly show it to people.
Yes.
We're not very good at, well, I can't really speak for him, but I'm not very good at the idea of writing like spec scripts and stuff like that. And it could be years in development or never in development, and no one ever sees it. Like, a big part of the joy for me of writing stuff is getting to see people's reaction to it, and
yes, absolutely,
knowing that hopefully you've made people laugh. So doing my own video stuff is really good for that, but I'm less good at being patient and trying to get a commission, really.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's still performing at the end of the day, which the best part of that is getting reactions and things. I think the longer you have to sit on stuff, the more it starts to feel kind of vague and just...
Yeah, definitely.
It's hard to kind of call yourself... I mean, I don't want to project, but it feels hard to be like, oh, I'm a comedian. When you're at that stage of having lots of projects that aren't really manifesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's unsatisfying making stuff and people not seeing it. Well, I find it is anyway. But I mean, some people are very patient and very determined to go through that route. And I know people who have succeeded in that route. And I don't know, that's a real skill. That's a real, that kind of perseverance is kind of amazing that some people have that. But I'm just so desperate for attention and dopamine. Make it. Put it on the internet. They've liked it. Okay, now back into bed.
I was going to say, there are people who do have that. And they're called fucking nerds.
Yeah. Damn right. I didn't realise this was like a roasting podcast where we roast nerds, but
yeah, speaking to the truth.
I'm all for it. Fucking nerds.
I know, this is very much, a cool jock guys podcast.
Nice. What do you think of tits? I think they're good.
Yeah, I think they're all right.
Except when they're not or something.
They're up there somewhere.
Yeah, near the nipples.
Yeah, that's good. That's good anatomic. We do biology over here as well.
Oh, nice.
But with your online stuff, most people I've spoken to have done online content because it's sort of a position now where you kind of have to, really. And a couple that I spoke to recently, for them it was something they did because they felt like they had to. It supported the other stuff they wanted to do. They kind of felt pressured to do it. They didn't necessarily feel it was like a passion of theirs. Whereas a lot of your stuff does seem to be like Forgotten History, for example. Like you described it as that is one of the main things you like to do. Do you feel under pressure to like get stuff out in that way? Or are you a bit more relaxed?
To get stuff out for the online stuff, do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, there is a bit of pressure to it. I mean, I'm not very frequent or consistent with my videos, really.
Yeah.
I still find them a challenge to make. I'm not someone who can just churn out stuff really easily. I really have to sit down and really try and sweat.
Yes.
And, really focus to make something that I'm confident in. But yeah, I do feel a bit of pressure. If I haven't made a video for a while, maybe I've been doing something else. But that's not why I do it. I think ultimately I love the freedom of being able to make whatever you want, basically, within YouTube's content guidelines.
Yes.
So, no beheadings, but apart from that, it is a shame. But anyway.
Yeah. It's fucked my net constant idea.
Exactly. But yeah, it's, I mean, like you say, I kind of do it ultimately because I enjoy it. And no one gave me a TV series anyway, so I have no choice.
I want to ask about that as well. Like, is stuff like Forgotten History and the other projects you do as well, which I really want to talk about, like MacLeod lore, I really want to talk about. Stuff like Forgotten History, is YouTube kind of your ideal? Is that where you see continuing it? Or do you have an idea of like, oh, I would like to make this into a full show at some point?
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, with a comedy producer, like we pitched Forgotten History to loads of different platforms and channels and stuff, and none of them wanted it. So if someone was like, do you want to make 6 half an hours of Forgotten History for BBC Two at 9 o'clock, I'd be like, yeah, sure, that sounds fun. But more people see it on YouTube than if I did that.
That is true, yeah.
If I had a BBC Two show, maybe maximum 2 million people would see each one. Whereas, I'd hope to get more than that for the majority of my YouTube videos, which is really nice. And YouTube does pay me a bit. It doesn't pay me much, but it helps me survive, and it is a job. I sort of am a YouTuber these days in a way. It just seems a bit weird. So yeah, I mean, again, it's like, I've been rejected from other paths, so I'm just sort of doubling down on the online path, really.
Which is good to have that as a thing. I mean, the monetization side of things is interesting. So a friend of mine does YouTube as a job. He makes Welsh history videos. They're quite, so like 10 minutes to 30 minutes, and he gets the kind of like automated ad stuff. But his main source of monetization with that is sponsorships, which I assume with like when I was watching your Forgotten History playlist earlier, there wasn't any moment where you stopped 30 seconds through the minute to go like, this episode of Forgotten History is brought to you by Squarespace.
Yeah.
Is it more difficult with shorter content on YouTube to...
I think that's part of it. Part of it would be, I think it would feel pretty disrespectful to the audience if in a 59-second video you're doing an ad. But I get emails from them all the time. I mean, they're just right. But they're not automated emails. Well, they kind of are. They clearly haven't seen my content. Like, they go, hello, Adrian Gray comedy. We think your content is informative and appropriate for doggone VPN. You're like, well, you don't know anything about this. I think ultimately I wouldn't do it because I don't think it would be a meaningful step change in income. Like, it might be that if I made a 10-minute video or something, maybe I'd make an extra few £100 or something for that one video. It just doesn't seem worth it to potentially piss off or alienate people.
Right, yeah.
Not to suggest that it is bad that people do that. Like, I don't think that. But just for me, I think I make longer videos so infrequently that it would have a more negative than positive impact, I think.
Yes. Plus, I think one arguable difference of your stuff is it's very, like, I don't know if this is quite the right word, but immersive in terms of that, you enter one of those, like, mockumentary things and it's all its own story and there's a character and stuff. So I think it'd be quite jarring to come back to the real world to advertise, dog toys or something.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, if MacLeod ever turns to the camera and starts saying, while I've got you, I would like to sell metal to you, then I think, people would probably assume it's a joke, and then no one would click on the link and then I wouldn't get any money, so it'd be pointless anyway. You
probably could get away with it a little bit more than those because people, oh wow, this is another genius step in the ARG.
Yeah, maybe.
That's something that's very interesting. Like, the MacLeod lore stuff, where does that... I found it a little bit nebulous to work out where that came from.
Well, the backstory to that is, in one of my Forgotten History videos, which is a Forgotten History of game shows, pretty vague concept, I did a joke of, like, imagining what an 80s Soviet game show might vaguely look like.
MacLeod, you successfully hit metal 17 times, so you are now proud owner of this photograph of motorcar. I am happy. But property is theft, so you are now under arrest. Fair enough.
Using footage from an 80s German game show, because that was just the footage I could find and looked vaguely
funny. Fraud.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Shattered many illusions there. So I did that, and then I think some people posted that one sketch from that Forgotten History on certain platforms, and it seemed to do quite well. So I was kind of like, I'll post it on just that, literally that 7-second clip on my platforms as well, because it seems like, I don't want everyone else to post it and get all the views, I may as well do it. And it's sort just that clip sort of became almost a bit of a meme, not quite, probably the level below being a meme really, but
I do remember seeing it a few times, I think, posted on other pages and not realize, like, it was a big thing of, that's from you.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, interesting. But then someone started one of these Instagram daily pages where they post the same meme every day using that clip. And that was the first time I'd encountered one of these daily pages anyway. So I was just like, that's kind of funny. So I just messaged the person being like, that's cool that you've done this. That's funny. And he was like, is it okay that I've used your clip for this? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. Just like credit me in your bio or whatever. And then I noticed like people in the comments on this daily post of this clip, there was almost like a little community building up of people who watch this clip every day, which I guess is like what those pages can be about, those daily pages.
Right.
And people were saying things like, wow, I hope McKaylee hits metal 18 times tomorrow.
Yes.
Or, wow, I wonder if one day McKaylee will be able to stop hitting metal and go home. I was like, occasionally check up on the page and see these comments. I was kind of like, huh, maybe he could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be funny to actually make something different happen. So then I messaged the guy who was a kid from Slovakia, a 15-year-old kid from Slovakia.
Oh, wow.
It turned out.
Okay.
I was like, hey, I might edit a different one of this. Would you be all right to put that up? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I edited one where McKaylee refuses the picture of the motor car and says, no, I don't want this. And like at the end puts like a weird dystopian kind of vibe on the end that he was like trapped in a loop.
Gaily, you only hit metal 16 times, so I am sorry, but you'll go home empty-handed. Oh, what a shame. McKaylee, everyone. I can just go. Yes, you just go through that, and you will. Yeah. So, let's see who our next contestant is on the show. Ah, McKaylee, back so soon. I guess you are still trapped. Fair enough.
I hadn't pictured the whole thing in front of me. I sort of thought, oh, maybe that I'll do more of this if it goes well. And yeah, it went down really well. People were like, what the fuck is happening? Like, have I changed multiverses? Like, the clip has changed. Yeah. And I was quite pleased with that. I was kind of like, oh, you know, in a way it was like a joke with a 37-day long setup and then the punchline.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's like, I guess with a lot of comedy, or possibly all comedy, I don't know, you're setting something up and then it changes, it twists in some way.
Yeah.
It's like what the setup punchline thing is. So this was just like a really extreme hardcore version of that,
right,
where you didn't even know it was going to be a joke and the setup was more than a month long. So people were like, what the fuck? So yeah, lots of people liked that one. And I was like, all right, I'll make some more then. I'll start trying to build a story. I think I did a couple more where I just like kind of implied he was in a loop, but didn't really know where it was going. And those did really well as well. Like they were getting millions of views and stuff. I was like, oh shit, like I should like work out some sort of narrative arc here. So I sort of mapped out a series arc of about, I don't know what it was, 10 episodes, 13 episodes or something. And then kind of set about making them, putting them up. Yeah. Or getting the kid to put them up. Doing the child labour.
I was going to say, it's a great random partnership that you're out with this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was a really sweet kid, actually. He was really excited, I think, that it was doing well, you know.
Yeah.
And occasionally I would kind of react, I would kind of tweak them and tweak the story based on what the comments were saying sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Maybe they would kind of spot a plot hole or something, and I'd be like, okay, I'll patch that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. But then people started messaging me saying things like, you're doing it wrong, stop trying to make it funny. So I said things like that.
That's a fascinating response.
And they were sort of just like kind of being a bit weird and rude about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I've had enough of this for now. I'm going to stop doing this. So I kind of put it on hold.
Stop trying to make it funny.
Yeah, that was literally one of the comments I got.
that's so
I think it was in all caps. Stop trying to make it funny. I was like, it's kind of meant to be funny. People
get angry online are just a real bizarre specimens.
I know. But yeah, so I kind of put it on hold, did some other stuff, and now recently I've sort of started making and mapped out a kind of final section of it, really, to kind of hopefully draw it to a close. Yeah, and it's doing okay. But I think, you know, its popularity definitely peaked earlier this year, but there's still a kind of following of it, of people who are interested.
Yeah, so, invested.
Yeah. So there you go.
Do you think it's a format you'd explore again with something else?
I don't think I'd do the daily page format again. I think people would very quickly be like, oh, you're just doing the same thing again.
Right, yeah.
Given how cruel they were just because I made it funny, you know.
Yes.
Can't imagine how cool they'd be then.
Unless you can find another Slovakian kid to just hide behind fully.
It's true, yeah. The one lesson here is child labour is good. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. But it made me kind of more interested in like making stuff that's not wholly comedy, because it's kind of sort of analog horror.
Yes.
It's a musical. It's kind of a thriller in places. You know, I'm using all these terms quite lightly. But it was interesting, yeah. It showed me that I can make content that people like that's not strictly comedy. And I do quite like that. and it's easier.
Right.
So I don't have to write any jokes here. It just ends.
Yeah.
I don't need to spend 4 hours thinking of a punchline. It just goes, all right, that's the end. Amazing.
And you do have the out of if a joke doesn't land, you can say that was intentional all along.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're not familiar with analog horror. You don't know about that. But so it's kind of opened my mind a bit on that front. But I think I'd be hesitant to do the daily page thing again because it would feel a bit contrived, I think.
Yes. Yeah, because I had the experience of, I'm pretty sure I came across the daily page is how I first discovered it.
Right.
And so it was very cool how it all organically grew out of that. But yeah, to capture that lightning in the bottle again with something else would be very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
What you're talking about with the comedy interweaved with other things reminds me a bit of... I'm going to have to do my best not to start mentioning this every other episode now, but I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and there's one that I've been obsessed with for a while called Beef and Dairy Network.
Yeah, it's great, yeah.
Yes, brilliant. Okay, the last time I mentioned this, I had no idea what I was talking about, and I attempted to kind of explain it and gave up.
Right.
But that type of thing, kind of brief explainer for people listening who haven't heard it, surreal conceptual podcast where the host runs a website in the beef and dairy industry, like British beef and dairy industry, and like I think the first episode he gets on a scientist and they're talking about finding a fifth meat on the moon. It's very good. But yeah, that show has a lot of parts where it's suddenly genuinely quite eerie or weird or uncomfortable. I think that's something I've always found very cool with comedy. I think Forgotten History sometimes has a little bit of that too. Not as much, but something about, watching old footage and stuff and it not being quite right.
Yeah, that may just be my bad editing sometimes. There. It just creates an eeriness inadvertently because the mouths are so out. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, I mean, I think I've always found the things that are kind of scary. There's a very fine line between scary and funny for me, really. Or maybe perhaps creepy and funny is a better way of putting it. I wouldn't find gore scary, funny, I wouldn't find it scary. It's just funny. It's just hilarious. I was laughing at the Saw films. But yeah, stuff that's a little bit creepy, makes you feel a little bit uneasy is probably the strongest aspect of my sense of humour, really. So yeah, I think it's definitely a format that works because you can kind of dip either side of that line quite easily without going too far in either direction, because I think they're quite closely aligned, really. Yes,
definitely. So we're coming towards the middle section, and we have a very exciting thing this time, which is your choice of song is one of your own songs, and we haven't talked much about your musical stuff yet, so that's very cool. And also, this is the first time I'm actually going to get to play a song, because normally what I do is, if a guest is like, oh, can we play the new Sabrina Carpenter?
Yeah.
I can't really do that copyright-wise, so I do a whole thing of, like, reading the lyrics myself, trying desperately to come up with something funny to make it interesting. Whereas this time, I actually get to play your song, which is very exciting.
Well, I don't know, you may get a copyright strike. I think it's technically...
Ooh, exciting. Okay.
But I could still... I think if that happens, I get the option to say, this person's allowed to use the song.
You shouldn't have told me that, because it'll be so upsetting if I get a copyright strike and it just never gets removed.
Yeah.
No, you personally declined it.
Yeah. You know what? I don't allow this.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see what happens. If you don't hear it, then you know who to blame.
Me.
But as for the song itself, so I think it's called, I might pronounce this wrong, is it Millennial Malaise?
Yeah, Millennial Malaise, yeah.
Also, could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, obviously I now feel bad for picking my own song. It obviously now feels like, and you've actually chosen your own song, which is unusual that you've made this. Every corner of this is about you, okay? But, I've got to do a promo. I guess that's what this is.
Well, you are an interview guest as well. It'll be a bit rich of me to be like, all right, enough, man.
Yeah, can we talk about me for a minute? Yeah, so I just do music for fun. I started recording some songs with my friend who plays bass and has some semi-pro recording equipment a few years ago, so about 2021.
Okay.
So I write the songs and then we record them together just for fun. And then we decided it would be good to play them live, so we started a band.
Oh, brilliant.
To play those songs. So he's the bassist, I'm the singer, and we have a drummer and a guitarist as well. And so we've done 3 gigs, and we'll hopefully do more. And this song it sounds very much like a sort of indie landfill song from about 2006.
Right. Up my alley so far.
I sing in a British accent, so it sounds like a lot of like British rock music from very specific mid-noughties years that no one ever listens to anymore. And yeah, I guess it's cheesy, but hopefully fun.
That's brilliant. I'm excited. So it's not comedy music?
Well, it's not, but I've done some live shows, like I said.
Yeah.
And sometimes people have said to me, "Oh, I loved your show. The music was so funny. The songs were so funny." And I'm like, "Oh no, like they're not meant to be." And they're like, "No, but it's comedy, right?" I'm like,
"Oh, that's
no.
disheartening."
I'm like, "No, that was my feelings." Actually, they're like, "Oh, you're so funny."
That's the inverse of. I don't know if you ever had the experience of like doing a comedy show or we're putting out something comedy related, and someone close to you watches it. And you're like, "How was it?" And they go, "Yeah, I thought it was really interesting."
Yeah. Classic.
That was quite clever.
Yeah. How did you remember all those lines?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay, brilliant. Is there any more context for the song in particular you'd like to give?
I don't know, really. I mean, I think it's probably our best song. This is why I chose it. It's the one we close our shows with. The main kind of vocal riff in it came to me in a dream.
Oh, no way. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I woke up with it in my head. And I was like, oh, that's quite good, actually. So I almost can't really take credit for writing it. It sort of just came to me. It's not really me.
Like a blessing.
My subconscious. Yeah. So there you go.
All right, brilliant. Well, credit to your subconscious. Here that comes. All right, welcome to the middle section. Now, as you'll know if you've been listening to the show at all before, this is normally a safe space for me to, via the song guest choice, read it my way, experiment my own creativity. But yeah, Adrian already said it about himself. Adrian, the big fucking bully Gray, has decided, no, it's time for his music. It's fine, It's fine. I'm not bothered that I don't get to do my type of thing. I don't even care. Don't even care that, you can go listen to his real music on Spotify at Adrian Gray music. The song's called Millennial Malaise. It's good. It's a real song. It's really good, even though I'm not delivering it this time. Yeah. Whatever, man.
All right, so the riff is gonna go da 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 da. I'm so sick of staring at a screen. It makes my brain feel so unclean. I'll throw my laptop in the ocean. Sitting round with fuck all else to do and spend an hour missing you. Feels like my life is in slow motion. So I moved into the city, but I'm too scared to go outside. Yeah, everyone's so pretty that I run back in my house and cry. I hate it when I hear about success. It makes my self-esteem a mess. I guess my brain just isn't right. Swiping through the girls I think are hot. The algorithm says I'm not, but I just think I'm not its type. So I'll say I'll make some changes, read a book and get my thinking clean. But there's just too many pages, so I'll run out naked in the street and scream. Oh. No one seems to care that I exist, and even I don't when I'm pissed. I wish I had a past to run from. I think my attention span is short. Hey look, is that a parakeet? I wonder where does pasta come from? I'm not into fashion. I dress so badly, people think I'm cool. Would love to have a passion, but only one that takes no work at all. I've still got a shot, but I know it is not a lot. So maybe I'll just call it a day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm so sick of staring at a screen, it makes my brain feel so unclean. So many hours gone for good, I'd take it all back if I could, but I would do it all the same, and it is driving me insane. They say it's just a phase, they say it's just a craze. I've been stuck like this for days, I think it's millennial malaise.
Alright, this is a secret between you and me. Don't tell him. Nobody tell Adrian. Alright, this is our secret. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really fun. You know, I thought it was a good song. I really like that style of music. Don't tell him. It'll go to his head, and I'm still mad at him. Alright, I am still mad that he took my spot. You know, I wanted to share something with him, and it had to be all about him. You know, I wanted to do something that was about us. But, yeah, I like the song, and it's on Spotify. Back to the show. And then that's happened. And, oh, wow, we're back. I should be used to it by now. This show began, like, a couple of years ago. I did a version of the show on my university local radio, and it was live. And so a part of me, every time I do the, like, music break section, kind of expects something to happen. And I have to be like, oh, yeah, okay, we're back.
Now you've just got this weird empty feeling where nothing has happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of unnerving.
Yeah. It's good to keep myself and guests on edge. It adds a little bit of energy to everything.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I get to jump back into things, to jump way back, actually, chronologically. I'm curious about, I mean, it's the kind of general question you ask anyone who does anything, really. But, I mean, you mentioned doing with, was it Archie, the Jazzy Mew?
Yeah.
Meeting him at Union, doing stuff there. Like, how far back does what you do go?
I guess the first kind of attempt at writing comedy, when I was about 17, 18, I started trying to write funny tweets for Twitter, just sort of like kind of inspired by like people on Twitter who I thought were funny.
Yeah.
You know, and I probably had like 200 followers or something, but that seemed, at the time, seemed like, oh, this is going well, this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, actually, no, I think it was before that, actually. No, that was the second thing I did. The first thing I did was I wrote blogs on Facebook about like TV I'd watched and tried to be funny. And it was very derivative of like Charlie Brooker and David Mitchell, basically.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I would often get one like on those, if not zero. And the like was usually from my cousin Tom.
Shout out Tom.
Yeah, I know, right? I wouldn't be here.
I need to get in touch with him, see if he can give me some support. Because I remember, I don't know why it was Facebook for me as well. I used to, back when I was in like high school age, I used to post stuff on there. I would post like jokes as if they were, I think in my head I imagined it was to some kind of growing online fan base. But obviously it was my high school Facebook page. So it was my family and my small circle of friends seeing things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have a cousin Tom, so you got that over me.
You got to have a cousin Tom. Yeah. Well, so that was like the first thing I did. And then I sort of tried writing tweets. And then I kind of went to Cambridge University because I wanted to try and do comedy and give it a go. And they've got like good comedy societies and a good theatre scene.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So I thought, oh, that's good. And then even if that comedy doesn't go well, I'll still leave with a Cambridge degree. So like that's still in reasonable stead for life.
It's pretty all right, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, all right, if I can get into Cambridge, that'd be good. So I managed to do that. And then, when I was at Cambridge, I started trying to do live comedy. So that was sketches and stand-up.
Yes.
And the first stand-up I did was one-liners, so just doing jokes, some of which were just the tweets I'd written. I was just like, I'll just try saying them on stage. And some of them, work translated, others didn't. And so then sort of like that went reasonably well to begin with. Not incredible, and I don't think I'm a particularly great performer on a stage, really. But went well enough that I could kind of do more shows and sort of join the comedy societies and get a bit better at stand-up and stuff like that. And so then I left Cambridge thinking, I'll try and do this as a job. I'll try and become a comedy person of some kind. Unfortunately, when you leave university, you suddenly realise, oh my God, this is so impossible. Yeah. How on earth do you make any money at all from this? Still wondering that, obviously. But yeah, so then I sort of tried to do stand-up in London a bit, and I was like, well, this is horrible. Everyone hates me. Not doing that. And then I sort of started making videos, and that is sort of where I'm still at.
Yes. Although, how did that translate into... So again, I've got a few of your writing credits here. I don't remember exactly where I found these. I think I found a page on your agency.
Yes.
And then maybe an IMDb page.
Yeah.
So there's a few things here, like some stuff for Radio 4. In addition to his successful online work, Adrian has written for Mock the Week, Late Night MASH, Russell Howard Hour, The Now Show, and The Great American Joke Off, and various other things. When did that start? Like, because you say you leave uni, you've done stand-up and things, you tried stand-up, you tried making videos. What was the progression like to, actually like, I'm going to pitch something to these people or see if I can write for... Like getting real, I guess, would be one way to phrase it.
Yeah. Well, I got an agent through doing a stand-up competition in about 2017, so that was about 2 years after I graduated.
Okay.
But I still didn't really have enough of a profile to really get much work, despite having an agent. I made like one sketch for BBC Three, online, from that. And then that agent quit the comedy industry. So, that's always nice when your agent goes...
Immediately after your sketch.
Yeah. I've decided actually not just you, but the entire concept of comedy is not for me. So, okay. But then I got a new agent. And yeah, you get, gradually you get a bit of work from your agent. They submit you for stuff. And occasionally someone is willing to give you a writer's room for not much money or something like that. The writing for like panel shows and stuff came from, I don't know if I should mention the comedian because I don't know if they'd be funny about the idea of having writers. I think basically all people involved in panel shows will have writers because it's an absurd amount of content to produce like every week. They record for like 2.5 hours. To have 2.5 hours of topical jokes to say, it'd be basically impossible for one person to produce that. So, it's a very normal thing, but just in case, a comedian messaged me being like, do you want to potentially write some jokes for me for Mock the Week for not a huge amount of money, but like that was fair given that like they didn't know if I'd be any good. And I did that and they really liked what I wrote. And then since then, they've often used me as a writer for various different things that they've been on because I guess I'm reasonably good and I have a similar tone to them. And then from that, I wrote for a couple of other people on these shows. And so then eventually it's sort of spread to other things. But I mean, it's not like I get loads of that work now. I mean, despite the fact that I have a list of credits, I still, it will be a few things a year that I get to do. It's not like every week there's, you write for this, can you write for this? I'd like it to be, but it's still not. So it never feels very stable and it never feels like you've accumulated enough that you're just always going to get work, or at least for me, it doesn't feel like that. But I'm, grateful for the work I have had, and it's fun writing jokes and then seeing some be said on TV 2 nights later.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
See the audience laugh at it and maybe the other comedians laugh at it and you think, that's fun, I wrote that. Yeah.
Is it something that, like, contract work, I don't know if that's quite the right word, but, like, you said it was fun. If you did start getting a flood of that, would you like to move to that completely? Or is it still stuff like Forgotten History and things? Is that your passion?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think I would always want to do my own projects. I would never want to sacrifice that and just write for other people, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, if I could do, I don't know, a writer's room for a different show every couple of weeks for like a day, that would be nice.
Right, yeah.
From an enjoyment perspective and also just like an income perspective, that would be good.
Yes, yeah.
But no, if it was like either I continue to do my own stuff or I do other stuff, I would do my own stuff, definitely, because I can do what I like.
Yes, that makes sense. What are those writers' rooms like?
Well, I mean, to be honest, like, most shows that I've written for have not been in writers' rooms. It's been me getting a brief by email at the start of the day at home, and then writing all day on my own at home, and then sending it the stuff at the end of the day. I'm trying to think how many shows I've been in where there's actually been a proper writers' room. Maybe one maximum, and even that was still a kind of like, oh, but after today, obviously you'll go away for a few days and write the stuff properly.
Right, yeah.
There's still a slight sense of it's the preamble. So I don't know, but they've not massively seemed to be a thing. I mean, writing for some of the Radio 4 shows, you're kind of technically a bunch of writers in a room, but you're just all on your laptops writing your own jokes. You're not working together. You're
not all gathered around a typewriter, like cheering. And
yeah. No, sadly not. I would love that. So yeah, I don't know if it's just because I've got relatively limited experience of these things, or if there just isn't a culture of that here. Maybe that's why so much stuff is bad. Maybe we need to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah.
I mean, I assume it's definitely easier to organize if you're just emailing off to various people. Do this.
True.
What was it like when you got the opportunity to do more of your like own projects? So like the recent, what was it called? I'm terrible with
the Jazz Emu thing.
Yes.
Or The Sound of Us. Yeah.
Sound of Us. That was it. So like things like that where you're writing on your own projects. How much freedom did you get given with once they said, yeah, we'd like to make this?
We got quite a lot of freedom, I think, really. Yeah. I mean, there are obviously various kind of innate limitations, whether it's like the length or what you can and can't say on radio at 7 p.m.
Right.
Again, no beheadings. It's just ridiculous. Nanny state.
Audio format is so rich for that as well. You can really go to town.
Let your imagination run wild. Yeah, probably quite a good amount of freedom, I would say, really. It wasn't like someone was constantly saying, change that, don't like that.
Right, yeah.
Do that differently. So that was good. Yeah, so we were quite lucky in that sense, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, as you said, it's not super predictable, but like, what kinds of things are you looking forward to producing in the future/near future?
Well, I'm hopefully going to be making a comedy podcast thing with a producer that's going to be a bit more political, a bit more like satire of British politics and British news stuff, hopefully.
Yes.
It's like technically been, someone said yes, but I've not signed anything, so you never know. They could always be like, oh, that person's actually left the company and now there's this new person who hates you. And you're like, okay, so that's a shame. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I would like to make more stuff that involves dubbing but isn't Forgotten History or MacLeod. I think
yes,
that seems to be the niche I've inadvertently carved. And I think I'm a better voice actor than I am an actual actor anyway. So I don't know. I would like to see what else I can do with dubbing stuff.
Definitely to the voice acting. And do you do all the voices in all the Forgotten History things you do?
Pretty much. I mean, very occasionally there's one or two where it's like I know someone who does a great impression of this person or something.
Yeah. Bring on Cousin Tom.
Yeah, exactly. But no, yeah, 99% is me. Yeah.
Which is really good. They're very impressive. I think especially you do, I mean, obviously you'd know because you're making them, but you do have that kind of classic BBC presenter voice nailed down.
Yeah.
Just, I think lures it in very well. I think one of the things that I like the most about them is they're all, if you weren't paying attention and it was on in the background, you'd just be like, oh, it's just some old BBC TV show. And yeah, you do have that nailed down.
Yeah.
Doing voices like that, is that something you specifically worked on? Is it just always something you've just enjoyed doing?
I've always been reasonable at doing voices and accents. I'm not amazing. Like, I know people who are incredible at like impressions and accents, and I'm not incredible at all. I just feel more in control of it than I do acting with my face and my body.
Right.
I just feel a bit out of control. I'm like, okay, now try and look sad. It just doesn't feel, I'm like, oh, this doesn't look sad. This looks, horny or constipated or something. Whereas with a voice, I can feel like I can convey the tone and the timing and even like what a character is kind of feeling or how much they really believe in what they're saying.
Yes.
A lot easier. I mean, some of the impressions and accents I do in Forgotten History, like, they sort of come out quite well, but that's like, I've managed to get one take of each line having done like 50 takes of each line, if you know what I mean. It's like, oh, that one there, and if I splice it with that word there, and then I put the pitch up by 2 semitones and put this filter on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that now kind of sounds like Princess Diana. Okay, cool. But it's like, people are like, oh, great Princess Diana impression. I'm like, if you asked me to do that in real life, you'd be like, what the hell is that? So there's also a fair bit of fiddling around and doing lots of takes and chopping stuff up, which makes things a bit easier, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's your, speaking of semitones and filters, what's your process like for putting together a new Forgotten History piece?
Well, I sit and think, and I think of maybe some general topics and things that might be kind of funny about them. So let's say, I think, okay, Saddam Hussein, I haven't done one on him or whatever. And I think, all right, what could be funny about Saddam Hussein, or what would be funny to suggest about him? And then I think, okay, it would be funny if it's like he started telling dad jokes all the time.
Yes.
I think that would be funny. And it's like, okay, well, maybe the concept is it's a Forgotten History about him becoming a dad, and it completely changes his personality. And then it's like you start looking at footage of Saddam Hussein and really confuse your algorithm and your echo chamber. And you sort of see what's available, maybe start downloading some clips.
Yeah.
And then you try and sort of write the jokes. And I mean, I sort of edit as I write in a way.
Right.
It's quite hard for me to tell whether a joke is definitely going to work if it's paper in another regard.
Right, yeah.
I can only know this is going to work if I deliver it and I edit it into the footage and I see what it looks like and sounds like. So it's not a case of writing the whole thing, then it. The two are kind of constantly happening.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So then sort of eventually I get to usually 4 sort of sketches, and then I do the, tying it up, redoing the vocal takes, manipulating the footage to make the mouths vaguely line up.
Yes.
Doing the subtitles, doing the grading, all that kind of stuff.
I think that's the part that is, because sometimes when I watch something like this, I'm thinking about like how you might have put it together. And I'm extremely ADHD. And so when I see, sometimes I've had the thought like, oh God, I could not handle the process of finding all of these clips and matching them up perfectly. Is that something that takes a long time every time, or if you kind of got the process kind of down pat now?
It depends, really. I mean, some stuff, I'll probably spend entire day looking through footage.
Yeah.
And trying to find footage. I mean, sometimes it's a case of actually something that seems really simple is actually really hard to find. So it might be like, I need footage of Saddam Hussein, I don't know, walking into a room and saying something to someone in that room.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, obviously there's going to be footage of that. But actually, you type in Saddam Hussein into YouTube or whatever, and it's just all him doing speeches or firing an AK-47.
Yeah. And
then you start thinking, I'll search for it specifically. So Saddam Hussein in the room and says something. And obviously, like, no one's tagged any of the footage like that. So then you're watching, like, entire documentaries about Saddam Hussein on 2x speed, trying to spot a clip they've used at some point where he walks into a room and says something. And you start to think, is this worth it? Like, is this joke good enough that is worth me scouring every bit of footage of Saddam Hussein ever to find something this kind of banal?
You're going to get put on a genuine watch list at some point.
It's true, yeah.
Someone's sitting in an office somewhere going, this man has searched for everything Saddam Hussein has ever done.
This man is planning to assassinate the already dead Saddam Hussein. So yeah, stuff like that can still take ages, and I've not found a shortcut for that. I mean, I could use AI, I guess, but I don't really want to. And like I say, I still find the writing quite challenging, and to make it to a level where I think all the jokes are hopefully kind of punch you in the stomach level of funny, which is the aim.
Yeah.
I find that really hard, and it takes a few days, really. It can take me 5 days to make a 60-second long video, and I wish it were quicker, but there you go.
Yeah, definitely. Do you tend to use, I mean, I assume over the process of writing it, it takes a while to like work out what stuff you keep in, but in terms of like the whole concept, once you finish one, does it tend to be guaranteed it's going to go out, or do you have like a folder somewhere of ones that you don't consider as good as the others?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I don't think I've ever finished one and not put it out, but I've done ones where I've started making it and maybe attempted to make the first joke in it or the first 2 jokes in it and just thought, this isn't quite good enough, or I can't quite see this having another 2 jokes in it. And then I've kind of binned those. Yeah, but I've never gone through the entire process and gone, oh no.
Yeah.
Set it on fire, fortunately.
That is very fortunate, yeah. Okay, so speaking of... it doesn't even really need a segue, I just quite like trying to do them. Speaking of forgotten history, the like sample of your work that we're going with, I believe it's your most recent one?
Yeah, the Rockstars one.
Yes, that's right. Would you like to give any kind of context for that one, or do you think it's better if it just dropped into it?
It's, I mean, it's a piss take. It's not real. Don't panic. I'm quite proud of my Brian May impression, but he's a sort of level of niche that no one really cares. And I hope you like it.
It's very good. I've enjoyed it very much. All right, so here it comes.
Early rock songs were stolen from black people.
My next guest has been accused of stealing from the ethnic community, but I think that's wholly unjustified. Elvis, everybody.
Me and my birds run away from the cops. From the way we look, we know they're gonna stop us.
Well, that could mean anything.
'Cause we're black, black.
Some bands tried to be unattractive to make fans scream less.
I've got an anal fissure. It's got a hair coming out of it. Well, it's not a hair, it's a worm. Fuck's sake.
Rockers were expected to be troublemakers, but some couldn't pull it off.
I once ate 5 biscuits and the recommended portion size was only 3. There's a library where I put a book back in the wrong section once.
Brian, that's an awful story.
I know, I'm still cut up about it.
Eventually, many rock groups fell out and couldn't be in the same room as each other, which made performing hard.
You never know how hard it was for me to let you go.
Hey, I told you not to fuss, I'm performing.
And it's came.
Is that what you say? Is it when you finished in bed? Is that what you... And it's came.
All right. No, I say that and then I go, all right, and we are back. Welcome back to the show, folks.
And we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. I like "and it's came." There's so much confusing grammar in that. It's like what? It has came. What?
I don't like to identify. I don't like to say I've come. It feels too personal.
Because you're such a kind of horrible animal in that moment that you're more than it.
Exactly. And if there's any complaints, I can just be like, well, it's not me. It's just the thing.
Yeah.
I wish it would do better as well, but it's not a lot I can do.
Sorry, it didn't last that long.
Right. So, in terms of plugs and things, what are some things you would like to plug?
Well, my YouTube, Adrian Gray Comedy. The algorithm isn't being particularly kind to me at the moment, so please watch all the videos and, subscribe. And yeah, my MacLeod project, I've no idea how you search for it, and I don't really know what the Instagram is called because it was made by this Slovakian kid. I think it's called You Hit Metal _17 times, but that might be wrong. Something along those lines.
Excellent branding.
Good luck Googling that from memory.
Yes.
But if you type in MacLeod hitting metal onto Google, you might be able to find it. And my music, Adrian Gray music, Adrian Gray on Spotify. And I guess that's it. I guess that's all my contributions to the world, pretty much. So hopefully that's made my life worth having, and my parents don't regret conceiving me.
Fantastic. I have had multiple people now when I get to... I do just sort of throw on, all right, list your things. Multiple people have been left going, oh God.
Yeah.
This is what I am.
It's an existential crisis moment, yeah. List your value now.
Should start holding up a little tally chart and compare it to the next guest, see who has more. Yeah. But yeah, that's brilliant. I'll obviously link to all of those things in the episode description as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And yeah, it was good. I was about to say first mention of cum on this show, but I don't think it is. I think it might be the first.
You're a man who hosts a podcast and you haven't mentioned cum yet.
I know. I really gotta up those fucking numbers. I think it was there's been a couple subtle mentions kind of building up, but this is the big reveal.
This is the big climax, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Thank God it's only audio. This is some horrifying things happening.
Oh, you're telling me no one's filmed that? Oh, for God's sake. I've genuinely never seen anything like what just happened. But anyway, I guess viewers will have to, listeners will have to imagine.
Yeah, it really upset me. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Adrian won't on here, probably, but somewhere else.
Yes, in the street, maybe.
Yes, keep an eye out. And I'll dox your house and everything in the
Please, if you can work out where I live from this wall, then you deserve to dox me.
That's true. I should be having the wrong career. But yeah, thank you very much, and goodbye, everyone. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the show. You can follow us on Instagram at NeverIsFunny. All one word, all lowercase, baby. As always, the music for the intro and outro is dated by Kevin MacLeod. And Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons, badge version 4.0, licensed creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0. And guess what? Guess next week? That's right, it's Clown Lil Winker. See you next time.